Hi, I'm Dan Cortopassi. Welcome to Dan's Backshop. In this program, I normally show what's on my workbench, and we'll get to that. But I also wanted to talk a little bit, since it's the end of the year, about goals and some goals that I set at the beginning of this year and what I got to and what I didn't. I'm not a big believer in New Year's resolutions, but I do like to set goals sometimes. That might be a distinction without a difference. I don't know. But anyway. At the beginning of this year, I did have this goal that I was going to complete one locomotive a month. Well, that didn't happen. Given everything else that goes on, it's probably not realistic, but, sometimes we set goals for ourselves in hopes that we can achieve something, even if we don't quite make it. In fact, I think I could draw a little Venn diagram of like stuff that I planned and stuff that I actually did, and there is an intersection, so there was some of those things that actually got achieved, but then there was other stuff that came up too, that not necessarily even train related. Like one of my big goals this year was to get the train room ready so that in 2024 I could start actually building a layout. That didn't happen. I made progress, but it still needs some more work. So now my goal for 2024 is to get the train room ready and start building the layout. We'll see. Life has a way of intervening. Just to give you an example, it has nothing to do with trains, but we have about an acre property. And when we bought it, there was a lot of lawn. Now we live in California, and more years than not, it seems to be a drought. And so lawns use a lot of water. Also, nobody that lives here likes mowing. We're not really great or that thrilled about paying other people to mow it for us. So we decided, well, why don't we just get rid of it, So we've done a lot of landscaping with decomposed granite and gravel and stuff like that to kind of reduce the water and reduce the maintenance. What we did was there were sprinkler systems installed for the lawn. And what I've done is I've capped off a lot of the sprinkler heads, and then other ones I went and I put little manifolds on them for drip irrigation, because we have some lines running to some trees and some potted plants and things. And at some point during the year, we had some landscapers come in and remove some plants. And one of them must have damaged one of the PVC pipes under the ground, because whenever we tried to turn the drip system on, water would bubble up. So I was like, okay, there's probably a damaged pipe. So anyway, I got out my shovel thinking that it was probably going to be a couple of day job, maybe 1 or 2 days, and I'd dig the PVC pipe up and repair it. Well, it turned out that they nailed 4 different pipes, not just one. So it ended up taking a couple of weeks by the time I was done with everything and trying to track down where everything went. And some of the lines are active and some of them aren't anymore. And it's just so it's stuff like that. The reason I'm bringing it up is stuff like that takes time away from me being able to do train stuff, which is what I'd rather be doing. But, things happen. And so, I kind of feel like, sometimes I complain about this or that, but I'm also grateful that I have a house, because I know there's some people that are living in some pretty dire circumstances. So, I feel like, those of us who can practice the hobby of model railroading to any degree, that's a pretty lucky thing, because it's a luxury, So I try to keep that in mind. I try to keep a little perspective on it. But anyway, I do set goals. And like I said, this year, hopefully in 2024, we'll get to the train room and get it done, and hopefully at least make a start on a layout. That's something I would really, really like to do. Because, I've realized that building all these diesels without anywhere to run them is kind of anticlimactic, So one thing I did do this year is I've started to sell off a lot of my project models, especially diesels. I've acquired quite a few of them over the years. And, when my first marriage ended, I think I started to do some retail therapy by buying trains. And I'd get on eBay and I'd see like a Kato for $50 and I'd be like, buy it, that's cheap. The problem with that is then you end up with a room full of, these projects. And I really had a lot, So I've been starting to eBay some of them and reduce the the workload a little bit. You know, I still have the two, well, one's a Proto 2000 and one's a Kato that I'm, SD45Rs that I'm doing for the consist build. And, you know, those have taken a lot of work just to get to the point where they're at now. And then, you know, a while back, I got some new scale trains SD45Rs, and I bought 2 undecorated units that basically have all of that work done for you already. So I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to finish the 2 that I already started, but do I need to do this 7 or 8 more times? And I decided, no, I don't. You know, sometimes I think there are diminishing returns with doing stuff, and it's like, you know, if you really like doing diesels and you know, everything, there's nothing wrong with it, but, you know, I've done already, you know, quite a few, and I've decided that I don't need to spend the rest of my life just doing that, because I have a layout to build. I want to get to some other things. I like to build some structures, weather some freight cars, you know, do some other aspects of the hobby that I also find enjoyable. So I don't want to just, you know, have so many diesel projects that I feel overwhelmed by them. So I think I've sold off probably 25, maybe 30 models this year. And don't worry, you know, if you're worrying, oh, is Dan going to stop doing diesel detailing? No, Dan's not going to stop doing diesel detailing. I still have quite a few. In fact, I was doing a little inventory of projects, and I'm still looking at that list and seeing that list is still pretty long. So, you know, some more may go by the wayside. And one thing I was going to ask, I don't know if, you know, I don't want to like push advertising on people, but, you know, would anybody be interested in any of the models that I might have for sale? Because if so, I might start doing something on the channel to like tell you what I've got on eBay or somewhere else that might be available. But I don't want to push that on people if people aren't into it, you know. But anyway, it's just something to think about. But I do feel better having gotten rid of that many models. Because it feels like a big weight off of me, and now I can focus more on the ones that I still have. And like I said, I may reduce those a little bit too, but I think it's important to kind of not overextend yourself, because, you know, hobby time is precious, and life happens, and, you know, other stuff gets in the way. So sometimes you really have to kind of focus on what's the most important and how do you get the most enjoyment out of it. So this is a little N-scale Bachman 280 that I've had for a long time. I did manage this year to clean it up cosmetically. I repainted it into my North Coast scheme. I made an oil bunker for the tender, and you know, everything's working. It already had DCC and sound in it. I did add a capacitor circuit to keep it running on, you know, any places where it might otherwise stall, because I intend to use this one on the Siren Creek. Now, one of the things about this engine, the reason why it's slightly disassembled, right now I'm working on trying to fit a working coupler to the front, because it didn't have one. So this is a Microtrains coupler that I'm going to try to put on it, and then I've got the pilot truck off for the moment. Also, I re-gauged the drivers because they were narrow in gauge, and the Siren Creek layout where I intend to run this is done with hand-laid track, and it really doesn't like out-of-gauge wheel sets at all. They bounce over it and doesn't run very well. So fixing that made it work. And so I'm going to do a video about that whole process, and also when I figure the coupler out, and I'll put a video about this engine out at sometime, probably in the beginning of this year, or beginning of 2024 sometime. So this is one of my Canadian grain cars. I got this one out because I did a review of these a while back, and I wanted to include one that I'd already had just to kind of show, you know, that these cars have been around for a while. This is one that I had already upgraded with a Plano roof walk and some other things, but I hadn't done the crossover platform, so I got some photo etch parts for that. I took the original ones off, and also I put new wheels and trucks on it, because the wheels and trucks that came with these things were really not so great. So this now needs to be weathered and everything, so that it looks, you know, more like the rest of the car. And also I changed the couplers to Katy scale couplers, because before I just had regular Katys and they weren't even at the right height. So I guess I wasn't always as much of a stickler for that as I am now. So this is a Verdesci 060T. It's a model of granite rock number 10 that's, as near as I can tell, is close to the real one. The real one, last I checked, resides at the California State Railroad Museum in Sacramento, and I think it still runs occasionally. The main problem with this model is the cab isn't quite right. So I had the goal to redo the cab so it looks more like the real one. Also, the real one is not a coal burner, so this would have to be changed. Other than that, it looks to be pretty close. I took a lot of photos of number 10 when it used to run at Niles once in a while, so you know, I've seen it many times. So I'm hoping eventually that this will be a more accurate model. So this is a little Bachman 440 that I've had for quite a while. I'd already fitted it with a Loc Sound DCC and sound decoder, and also a working backup light. This year I repainted or redecaled the sides of the tender and changed the road name on it to North Coast for my fictitious North Coast Railroad. So anyway, I think it's a pretty neat little engine, and hopefully find somewhere to use it eventually. So this is Nicole's Hogwarts Express engine that we got out to run in the Christmas layout this year, but unfortunately it seems to have died. I think it has a bad motor. Fortunately, I was able to find the motor, exact same motor, on Amazon, and it was only about $3. The bad news is that I have to take the thing completely apart, I think, to swap it, so that's probably going to be a video at some point. Hopefully we'll be able to get it running again. So I think these two engines were here in the last episode of Dan's Workshop. This is a GP15-1 and this is an SD70M. I'm going to call these both almost dones because they're almost done. What I mean by that is, like, the SD70M, it has a Loc Sound decoder, it's got a speaker, it's got everything dialed in. The lights have been completely redone with LEDs. Everything works. The couplers are at the right height. The wheels are weathered. The engine's even a little bit weathered. The only thing that it needs is the side handrails, which I was saving to do when I do part 2 of the handrail video that I've been working on. So that's like really it for this one. Maybe a little bit more weathering, maybe, but other than that, it's pretty much there. And this one's the same thing. Mostly needs handrails and a little paint touch up here and there. But it's pretty much ready to go. I took this one and actually removed the ditch lights because this one came with ditch lights initially, and I was going to model it that way, but then I realized in 1995, which would be more appropriate for my layout era, these California Northern engines didn't have ditch lights yet. So I took them off and I had to fill in the holes and stuff. So I mean, I've done a lot of work to it, and that's kind of how my projects have been going this year. They've been like stuff I've done work to, and it's maybe close, but still not quite there. So I'm going to make some handrails for this one too, and, you know, patch up a couple more details, and that'll be ready to go as well. So this is the Consist build B30-7. It still needs its handrails finished. I started them, and in part 1 of the handrail video I talked about doing the side handrails. I still need to do the end handrails for it, and then in that same video I'll do some handrails for some other locomotives as well. This was a goal for last year, for 2023, to get this done. Obviously that didn't happen, but hopefully this year we're going to get there eventually. So this is a large-scale caboose that I got for the garden railroad. I've actually had this for quite a while. I actually bought a lot of garden-sized equipment years ago before I had anywhere to run it. Now we finally got something set up, so I want to be able to use this one. And I can. The only thing about this one is that it has lights in it. It has a light for the interior, and it also has marker lights, but it requires track power, and I've set up the outdoor railroad to be dead rail because everything's battery. So one of the things I want to do this year is to put a battery in here so that I can run this car, run the lights with the battery instead of you know, track power. I will also say that there's absolutely nothing authentic about this caboose. The paint job is not authentic. The caboose body itself is not authentic for Southern Pacific. So if anyone is going to say that's not a real SP caboose, you're absolutely right, it isn't. I just liked it. So I got these as sort of a Christmas present. These are some really old school Craftsman style kits for various types of cars. There's a couple of label kits for like 1880s vintage passenger cars. This is an all-door box car from Quality Craft, Northeastern scale models. There's a couple of those. One's a pickle car, and the other one's a vinegar car. So, and then this is a Taurus Products stock car, and then there's a container car from Ambroid and a McKean flat car with trailer. These are, the McKean one is at least a little newer. It's actually got some plastic stuff in it. A lot of these are wood. So that's something I haven't done a lot with, is wood kits. So eventually I'd like to maybe get into these. I thought that would be kind of fun, you know, like to do something different, you know, I thought would be kind of cool. But this was a complete surprise, and I wasn't expecting to get this stuff, but I think it's kind of neat. So eventually I may do some videos about building some of these and seeing what we can do with them. So when someone asks what is a Craftsman kit, sometimes I will sort of jokingly answer it's a box of sticks with instructions. Let's just take a look at this one though, because I thought it was kind of funny. Here's instructions, and here's the sticks. Lots of sticks. A few detail parts, but you know, lots of sticks. Well, I guess that's about it for this time. If you liked the video, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps. Happy New Year, and thanks for watching.